It's up to you. I think she should have the reports here shortly.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. My name is Scott Wagner, I'm Western Commissioner and Chair of the committee. You and your microphone. Why should I expect that to work? Nothing else does. But all right, we'll start all over. I won't even do that. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting. My name is Scott Wagner, Chair of the committee from the Western Commissioner for Clay County. Since I usually do this in a redundant fashion, why don't I just follow the agenda? Mr. Jones, go ahead and do the roll call.
Joanne Lawson.
Here.
John Carpenter.
Here.
Scott Wagner.
Here. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the June 24th, 2025 Board of Zoning Adjustment minutes, which I believe have been distributed. Is there a motion? Commissioner Carpenter.
I move that we approve those minutes.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to approve the June 24th, 2025 Board of Zoning Adjustment minutes. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. The next item that we have is the swearing in of individuals who may wish to testify during the meeting. I assume by the number of folks here that I have a lot of folks who intend to speak to at least one of these agenda items. If you are one of those folks, would you please raise your right hand just like I'm doing now and just answer this question. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I do. All right, very good. You are all sworn in. If you didn't swear in, then you'll have that chance if you come up to do any sort of testimony. But we will get going with our agenda. We have 5 items tonight. I will make one request of everyone. Typically, we don't have an agenda that is this long, but I want to be just as fair to the person who is waiting to be on last on the list as I am to those who are on first on the list. So, not so much for me, but for those who are also here for their cases, if you would, please try to keep your comments as brief as you can, as comprehensive as you want, but please be as brief as you can, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. If you need to go longer, that's fine, but I want everyone to be cognizant of there's someone behind you, except if you're the last person, and by then, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be short because you wanna go home, and I get that. But for the rest of us, and the rest of you, if you could just be cognizant and try to be brief and concise, that will be very much appreciated, I think, by everybody. With that, Mr. Jones, we have case number 25-118.
Yes, and I want to mention we are getting the staff reports for you. So those will be printed here shortly, and Shane is going to do the first report.
Very good. Shane, thank you.
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add this report as part of the official record.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so for our first case, this case involves a variance pertaining to traffic movement and pedestrian circulation. That's what they called in our land development code. But more specifically, a request to allow a 60-foot wide shared ingress-egress easement for a driveway access for multiple lots less than 20 acres. Currently, the property sits at roughly 43 acres. It's zoned ag and has access from Quinn Road. And just to kind of give a little bit of brief history on this. So what's on your screen there, you see, it's kind of hard to, with the small lines. So there's a line here, oh, maybe. Line there and line there.
Go to the highlighter.
Go to highlighter? That's still pretty small. So we got 2 lines there. So before 2002, this actually was all one lot. After 2002, and based on deed research, there was a lot of different changes in terms of property lines and such that created this as a flagged lot, which flag lots for us are lots that have been, the major one we look at are what we call legal subdivisions. That's when somebody subdivides property or moves lot lines that doesn't meet the standards for not platting. And that's what happened initially with this. That's why this lot was flagged. So the, where are we at? So the applicant, again, is requesting a variance from section 151.8.2B5 of the Land Development Code. That code states that the proliferation of individual driveways on state and county roads shall be avoided. A tract of land which must provide a 60-foot wide shared ingress-egress easement for a driveway access for a maximum of 4 or of at least 20 acres. So meaning one 60-foot wide ingress-egress easement can be used to access a total of 4 20-acre landlocked parcels. The applicant is requesting, obviously, the variance to the 60-foot wide ingress-egress easement, and the applicant has also submitted a letter addressing the criteria and a site plan, and both of those are attached to the staff report. This is the exhibit of kind of what the applicant is hoping to do. Looking at the Lot 1, which is 13.5 acres, and then the other 3 that would be landlocked and accessed by a 60-foot wide ingress-egress easement in the back there. So as with all of our variance requests, we take a look at our land development code, variance criteria, approval criteria. The full criteria is attached to the staff report, and what's on the screen are summaries for each of these criteria. And I'll start with the first one. It arises from conditions that are unique to the property, not ordinarily found in the same zoning district, and not a result of the owner's intentional actions. The second point was granting the variance will not be contrary to public interest or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. Third would be shall constitute a practical difficulty upon the property owner, and the fourth one not affect the public health, safety, or general welfare, nor destroy the intent of the comprehensive plan. So those are the main 4 criteria. This is your surrounding area to give you guys a general idea of where we're at. So to the north here, let's see if this is still working. With that highlight, that's Clinton County. We have Smithville Lake in this area. So definitely this lot here in the red abuts up to Core Ground. It's surrounded, and there's some other residential zone lots within that area as well. So we do our standard public notice requirements with our variance cases that include publishing it in the newspaper, posting a sign on the site, and sending letters to properties. In this case, we sent, the radius was 2,000 feet, and we sent a total of 29 letters. Staff has received calls with questions and concerns regarding this, and staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and the applicant is present.
Very well. Any questions?
Just one question. When you did send those out, nobody had any adverse feelings about that, right?
Well, so we have received opposition. I can't, not 100% sure whether it was from them receiving the letters or not, but we have received opposition. And I do know some of those were regarding from the letter that we had sent.
Regarding what?
The letter that we had sent.
Okay.
And Commissioner, I will add, so the report that went out to you last week did include some opposition, and then your packet that is sitting before you had some additional letters of opposition that we received after
Okay.
that report.
This new one?
Yes.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner? No. One question that I have, I guess 2. One is so presumably with the easement that is there, we would expect some sort of road or some other way for someone to reach the back lots, but for the moment that is not what we are contemplating. It is just simply allowing for an easement to be there with the lower acreage that's been presented to us, correct?
Yes, so if the variance would be approved as part of, the next step would be platting the property, and we would make sure that there's a recorded agreement between all the lots as to who maintains, who pays to maintain, and how it's maintained, so that exists as the property changes hands.
Gotcha. And then the other question, just again, so I can be kind of focused on what the decision is. So the current code says each of those lots should be 20 acres. The fact that they are 10 is what brings us to have this conversation. And one other little aspect that you might want to answer with that, Mr. Jones, is the earlier comment about how it was originally platted and the lines that were highlighted. That is an issue that we want to resolve through this process, but that is independent of the size of acreage. Is that a correct way to look at that?
Yeah, so I think there's two reasons we're here tonight. The original subdivision that didn't meet the county standards at the time, and then the fact that these lots don't meet the 20-acre minimum.
Right.
If the applicant was proposing a 13-acre lot in the front and a 20-plus acre lot in the back, a variance wouldn't be required.
Got it. One final follow-up to that. So the split that's being asked for, which I guess was originally contemplated, was that a legal split at that time when it was originally contemplated, or no?
So are you asking, in
If you don't
2002?
mind throwing up that map
Yeah.
again, that's probably more helpful. So
This one?
where these red lines and highlighted lines are, the highlighted red lines, I'll call them, those were those originally acceptable back at that time?
No, and there's more of a history that goes along with this property because as Shane said, it's changed multiple times.
Right.
But originally, a 5-acre piece of land was cut out of that whole property.
Yeah.
And it did not meet the county standards.
I see. Okay. So, okay, got it. Commissioner, were you reaching back to your microphone? I'm sorry. No, okay. Anything else that you'd like to add before we ask for the applicant?
No, sir.
Okay, then if not, if the applicant would like to come forward, and if you would just introduce yourself for us, please.
Good evening, my name's Russell Walter. Part of the reason I'm looking to do 10-acre lots instead of a 20-acre lot is from the land use code in that area, they've changed it to 20-acre lots unless the average size of the lots within a half a mile around it are comparable to what I want to split it into. And from KIP, I got that the average size lot is 10.08 acres within a half a mile of the property, which is why I wanted to try to divide it into 10-acre lots instead of doing a 20-acre lot and then a 23-acre lot.
Gotcha. Anything else you'd like to add?
I know there was a opposition letter from Greg and Paula, which are the next door neighbors. And I understand we'd had a conversation several years back about possibly splitting that into lots before, and part of their letter was that they were surprised that this had come up. And some of their concerns with having the road next to their house, we can put into, when the 60-foot easement gets put into place on maintenance and stuff, we can do, I'm not opposed to doing something with the way of dust control, writing that into the easement on that piece of property so that the dust in that area does not affect their house. They were concerned about having houses behind them off to the east with light pollution in their area. I don't know that they would actually ever see them because there's a pretty good sized hill between their house and where these lots would end up at. So I don't quite understand that. They had brought up a concern about traffic. I get that, but we're on a dead end road that is Corps of Engineers property at the end of the road. There's traffic from that all the time. there's not a lot of traffic that goes up and down the road to begin with anyway. Any traffic from this would be north of their property going to the north to get out, because the south end of the road is where the lake is. So that traffic from that would not end up in front of their house anyway. It would all be going the other way. The other thing with dust control is that road, the main road into our neighborhood up until about 10 or 15 years ago was gravel to begin with anyway. When they moved out there, it was not chipped and sealed like it is now. So I think that's about all I have.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for this gentleman? All right, thank you very much. I will ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak on behalf or for the case. For it or against it?
Just to, I'm Greg, the property owner to the south that submitted the letter.
Oh, I see. Well, let me see if there's anyone else who wants to speak for. And if not, sir, come on up and please introduce yourself.
My name is Greg Green, and I live at the farm just immediately south. I submitted a letter to everyone with my concerns. And this was kind of a surprise to us. We had talked with Russell back in '21 about having a road go up, but it was mainly ag use. There was no discussion. In fact, I believe the conversation was this would not be divided up for lots. So at that time, I said I had no intention on selling my land, and I think from that, they were able to move forward. So nothing's happened since that. And just to make it clear, I am absolutely against this for the reasons that, you're probably aware of. And as far as, we've been there for 44 years, and we just didn't purchase this farm to be able to have just a small housing project dumped in right on top of us. So the first part is going to be this variance. The second part would, of course, be getting rezoned for use for housing. So I guess my concern was once you have, I guess it would be 3 other properties that would go into construction. There has to be major type of work done on this property. Is not level whatsoever, giant drainage ditch. There's also a pipeline that runs across that area that would have to be dealt with as far as crossing for utilities, and that could be water and fiber and some other things. So, like I say, we're a little surprised to see that, not being approached for, would you be wanting to buy this property from us rather than to break it up into lots? So, my other concerns that are on that second portion of that is just the amount of traffic, the use of, noise, dust, everything. We're going to have concrete trucks, gravel trucks, builders coming in and out. Most of the houses out there they probably aren't built in less than a year, so you have that constant traffic out there. And Russell mentioned our concern about light pollution, which is a real concern. We've been there for decades, and that's something we have always enjoyed. So currently, there are 2 houses under construction, and there's 2 more that across the road in the west of the map you had seen that have been rezoned and sold, and new houses are going to be built on that. So that is alone going to increase traffic once those get completed ahead of anything else we're discussing. And we were concerned about the wear and tear on our roads. You mentioned chip and seal. Actually, we're one of the original residents there that had to pay out of pocket to get the chip and seal initially put in on that road, and now the county kind of keeps that up. So just throwing out some numbers, there's currently 10 homes that I put on the letter. I think I missed an Amos residence. It might make 11. But essentially, if the 4 homes, 2 that are in progress and 2 more that are to be built that are separate from this discussion, that amount of traffic would increase around 40%. And then if you would take into consideration Mr. Walters' proposal for a minimum of 3 other homes, that would be at least another around 20%. So we would see an increase on traffic down the road. And this means, does it go all the way to the very end? Maybe, maybe not, but that road gets that wear, which would be about 60%. And this doesn't include a property that's to my south that is proposed to put in a dog boarding kennel. We don't know exactly what that means. We haven't seen any presentation of them needing a usage license or anything. So if you take that in consideration, people bringing dogs off every day, dropping them and leaving, we're going to have a tremendous amount of traffic. I kind of brought up that this increased traffic is also, we're considering kind of a safety issue, because that road is not designed to be like a highway. Because right now, you know, in the last couple of years, we probably had more kids and adults walking, bicycles, people walking their dogs, UTVs, ATVs, golf carts up and down that road that are fairly low speed. And we just haven't been able to control the speeds out there where people are going up and down the road. So again, I consider that a safety risk. And like I say, we didn't purchase this farm to be able to have a highway down in front of my house there. The other concerns is part 2, which has to do with going with the rezoning. I'm not so sure that Clinton County District Number 4 for a water supply was designed to increase the water flow we need for 4 additional houses that are in process or will be in process, and then asking for 3 more to be able to do that. Because I'm not so sure there's maybe a 2-inch water main on that.
I will say on that point, though, that's not a consideration of ours.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
just want you to know.
Just I know we don't have enough water, obviously, to
Sure.
put hydrants in for water flow for fire. So that was one concern, and then we're just not sure how that property could be developed, considering that there's a pipeline that runs right through the middle of that. I don't know what their requirements are. And then just going on to the portion of, this butts up against the Corps of Engineer wildlife area, and we have tremendous amount of deer and turkey that move through this area. What's that impact going to be? I can't say that. That's probably a question for the conservation and/or Corps of Engineers. So that's as brief as I can make it. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, all right. Any questions for Mr. Green? No?
You know, the only thing I would say, I get where you're coming from. You know, we moved out to have peace and quiet, and there was a huge acreage behind us, our back road. And by the time the old gentleman died, he wasn't even cold in the ground. They had that all platted to develop, you know, 10-acre lots, needless, lovely homes and all of that. But there is that lack of quiet that you'd like to see.
Yeah,
so I get what you're saying. More importantly, I guess, if I understand right, Kip, when this initially, this doesn't meet the standards, right? Doesn't meet our comprehensive plan standards.
Well, the parcels are currently flagged because they were subdivided at a time and didn't meet the county standards that were in effect at that time.
Okay. So this layout, as it is today, when it was approved, there was not this new comprehensive plan, and it met standards?
Correct, that there was no approval for how it exists now, and that's the issue. Now, if the variances would be approved, and I want to point everybody back to the 4 conditions and the 60-foot wide easement, because all of this other stuff is going to be talked at planning and zoning if we get there, and we will make sure that the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets all our other requirements, other than the lots not being 20 acres.
Right. Yeah.
So we will, if Mr. Walter changes something and it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan, staff will recommend to the Planning and Zoning Commission that they deny that application.
Okay, good.
Any other question or?
No, I'm done.
Mr. Green, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers for case number 25-118? Please come on forward and Give us your name.
My name is Tom Juneau. I am the owner of the property directly north of Russell, and I am one of the ones who's building a home out there right now. I first became aware of the request for the variance here with the letter that was sent out. So I got that just last week, and I did fire off an email to Mr. Kip Jones last Thursday or Friday. So, and I had several concerns. Basically, the same as the gentleman before me, the road. The road that'll be quite an increase in traffic on the road. There's presently 10, 11 houses on that road, 2 under construction, 3 more lots approved for building, and this would be an additional 3. So that pretty much almost doubles the amount of houses out there. Second would be the water main. I know that's not, but you said that's not part of your jurisdiction, but it is only a 2-inch main from 198th Street. Right now, it serves the houses adequately, but when you add 5 more plus 3 more, that's almost double the amount of houses on that 2-inch main. I think there should be a study at least to say, hey, is this adequate for the number of houses we have here? Another concern would be the fact that those lots are going to butt up against the Smithville Lake floodplain. I don't know how that affects those, but they do butt up against the floodplain with the drainage to the lake. Also, those 3 lots would all have to have private sewage. So since they butt up to the drainage for the lake, is runoff from the sewage systems going to be an issue? And lastly, the pipeline. One OK runs that pipeline. I believe there's 4 pipes back there that carry petroleum or natural gas and other substances. So that will be a big concern, I believe.
Very good. Anything further?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so.
Any questions for Mr. Juneau? Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. And I will point out that go ahead and sit down, sir. You're fine. But just for your benefit and others, those sorts of issues, if and when this would come before the planning committee, then those sorts are the sorts of issues that would be contemplated there. Is that safe to say?
Correct, and the neighbors will be notified again.
Yeah.
And I will add, Mr. Juneau's letter was part of the packet that's at your desk.
So I just want to say that those don't fall on deaf ears, but just to say that's where those particular issues would be heard if it gets to that point. But so just want to know you've been heard and where it goes. Okay. With that, anyone else who wishes to speak on case number 25-118? If not, Mr. Walter, as the applicant, will certainly give you an opportunity if you want to speak further.
I do have a letter from the water department saying that water supply is not a problem. I tried to get a hold of the pipeline company in between this to find out what their thoughts on crossing the pipeline was. Nobody has called me back yet. I did talk to the survey company that I've been working for, and they said that they have never had a problem dealing with the pipeline company to be able to cross it with an easement. But I have not gotten any confirmation from the pipeline company on that part of it yet.
And that's fine. For our purposes, that's fine.
I know, I'd
No,
wanted to.
appreciate,
Yeah.
it was raised, I appreciate you bringing that up. Is there any further questions for Mr. Walter before? No? All right, then, if there's no further public discussion, I'll bring it back to the committee for discussion and disposition. So I invite the committee, if you have any comments you want to make. And maybe before I do, since Mr. Jones brought that up, I will remind everyone that those criteria that are currently posted are really the purview of this committee in deciding whether or not to move forward with a variance. So for us, this will be what we discuss as far as moving forward. With that context, I'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, so would underline, we did receive a letter from the District 4 from Clinton County saying that that's not a concern. But to your point, these are the 4 criteria. I have, I think, a special concern around the second criteria listed, about not adversely affecting neighbors and the area around you. Clearly, we've heard from some folks tonight, but also it is, a variance that would, they feel imposed upon them. In the written documents with regard to justifying the variance, on that one, it simply says the variance will not be contrary to the public interest and will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. That is not especially compelling to me. That's just, stating that it's not the case. And we've obviously heard from folks who are concerned about that. So that would be my leaning at this moment, would be to deny the request, but
Fair enough.
open to thoughts.
Oh, that's fine. Any comments, Commissioner? Okay. Well, I will just mention for myself, I was a little bit focused on the first criteria, the uniqueness to the property. Sometimes we have granted variances because of the topography that's there, that it lends itself to sizes of lots and things like that. I find in this case, although I am curious to know a little bit more, Mr. Jones, about the comment that was made by Mr. Walter concerning the adjacencies of other properties, as was his contention. There have been 10-acre properties in that area, and he has scaled to that comment. So I am a little bit curious about that. Maybe I'll go ahead and let you speak to that, and then I'll continue.
So as you're aware, the county adopted a new comprehensive plan in February of this year. This area is in an agricultural zone district that the blanket rule is 20 acres per parcel. However, with public comment, we came up with exceptions for each tier. One of those exceptions in this case is we take a half-mile radius from the subject parcel, and whatever that median lot size is, they can propose lots that are consistent with that median lot size. In this case, it was roughly 10 acres. So the lot size that he's proposing, I believe, is consistent with the new comprehensive plan. And we would recommend approval on the planning and zoning case if the variance was approved, because he's got the variance, he's consistent with the comprehensive plan. But tonight, as you stated, is about the 4 criteria and whether, the applicant has shown, and the burden is on the applicant, whether he has shown that he has met those criteria.
I see.
Does that answer your question?
It does, because it at least suggests why that choice is his to make. Then it comes back to the criteria with that. So, quick.
With it being where it's at, you could do 20 acres. I could put the 60-foot easement in now to
Correct.
access a 20-acre lot.
Correct.
So the only difference is just trying to match the lot size in the area instead of doing a 20-acre lot.
No, in fact, you raise a point that I wanted to make, which is that should a variance not be granted, you still have certain rights as far as your property is concerned, which may or may not be satisfactory to neighbors, but that is your right to do so, and I'll kind of leave that at laying there as it is. So, but that was my concern. Just wanted to air that as well. Any other suggestions or comments? If not, then I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, I move that we dispose of case number 25-118 by not granting the variance.
Is that a sufficient motion?
Yes, so the motion is to not grant the variance, so a yes would be in favor of that motion.
Very well. Is there a second to that motion? It is moved and seconded to deny the request for variance for case number 25-118. If there's no further discussion, then Mr. Jones, will you call the roll?
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Joanne Lawson. And Scott Wagner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. We will now move on to case number 25-122. Mr. Jones.
Yes, Chairman, and would like to add this as part of the official report.
So done?
Okay, so we have another request to that same section of code that we just discussed. Case is similar, but has some differences as well. I've got the property pulled up on the screen now. It's a hair over 20 acres if you take all 3 lots and/or parcels together. So there are 2 platted lots that are shown in the blue and the red, roughly 3 acres, that are part of the West Springs subdivision. And we'll talk about the history of this property here in a minute. And then there is a larger, roughly 14-acre parcel that is unplatted to the west of those 2 lots. All 3 parcels/lots are zoned R1. There are homes on the 2 small lots. There is not a home on the back parcel, and there is no recorded access for that back parcel, and it does not have any road frontage. So I want to give you a little history on this one because it can be complicated. So those 4 lots right there were created as part of the West Springs subdivision. It was done to county standards, was approved and recorded in 1980. Again, there's the roughly 28 acres to the west. That was supposed to be the second phase of West Springs, and I'll show you that here in a minute. However, that did not occur, and the developer at that time created 2 legal descriptions to divide it into 2 lots. So basically where it says illegally subdivided, that's the lot line. There's a northern parcel and a southern parcel. To be consistent, that should have been, as with the previous case, that should have been platted. So the developer sold the parcel 1 to an owner and sold parcel 2 to the Lees, and they took ownership of that parcel 2 and lots 3 and 4 of West Springs in 1989. I'm sure the thinking was then that they own the front 2 lots, they have access to the back lots, but we have to prepare for future ownership, and it currently does not have access. Again, this should have been platted in 1984, and this is the preliminary plan. So you see there was a proposed cul-de-sac that was supposed to be in there with 8 additional lots. Those never occurred. So what the Lees are proposing is still 3 lots. They would like to increase lot 2, which makes sense to staff because right now a property line goes through a pond. We typically don't like that. It just creates issues. So lot 2 would increase, lot 1 would slightly decrease, and lot 3 would decrease. In order to do this, they would have a 60-foot wide access easement that just hopped on the screen there. And again, it would have to serve a lot less than 20 acres. So that is the variance request to allow that lot less than 20 acres to be served by an access easement. Typically, 300 feet of road frontage is required per lot. However, if a parcel is totally landlocked and 20-plus acres, they can have access through a platted easement, as Shane discussed with the previous case. The actual code first appears in the 2000 LDC, and the current version of the code of how it's written now first appears in the 2011 edition. So here I want to show you the surrounding area. That is the subject parcel. I'm going to see if I can draw here. So that is Idecker Quarry. I know we've had some discussions about that. And then there is Midwest National Air Center to the west. So this area is kind of, roughly, there is quite a bit of residential around, but there is still some large lot agricultural as well. Again, I'm going to state it in my 2 or 3 minutes, so I'm not going to read the criteria, but it's the same criteria that Shane referenced, and the full criteria were in your staff report. Again, it is the burden of the applicant to show how they meet those criteria, and the applicant is present and is prepared to address these criteria tonight. Again, we went through our public notice requirements, sent 33 letters. The applicant provided a letter addressing the criteria, the proposed plat, And we did receive a phone call with concerns, but did not receive any written opposition to this case. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is present.
Very good. I see Commissioner Lawson.
So, if I understand this right, this whole thing arose, and they're in this landlocked situation, in a way, because of an error made by Clay County in the past,
No. An error made by the developer.
by the developer.
He
Okay.
created 2 lots that should have been platted, but he did it by legal description, and that did not meet the county standards.
It did not?
It did not.
It did not. So what did we do about it? What
We-
could we have done about it?
Our enforcement, when somebody subdivides any land that doesn't meet our standards, we flag the property, and we do not give out any building permits until the issue is fixed.
But we did give one to some people further on down the road, right?
Correct. So this lot to the north was issued a permit in 2014. It should have been caught. I don't know why it wasn't caught, but they did give a permit to that, but it should not have occurred.
Did that, in effect, create the difficulty of them getting back to that land now?
To me, no, because the access should come through their parcels since they own the 2 lots to the east.
Okay,
So I think the way to correct it is what they're proposing. And that would make it legal where they could pull a building permit if they chose to.
good.
Anything further?
I'm done.
You're done? Anything? Just one quick question, Mr. Jones, since it came up in the last discussion. Does this also conform with that half-mile distance where you have similar acreages and therefore the size of the lots can conform if we say yes to a variance because of what is around it?
So this one's a little bit different. If I go back to so if you see it's so close to city limits, anything without color is inside city limits. So that's in what's called the managed growth area. That's where we reach out to the closest city and make sure that any subdivision of land is not going to inhibit them from growing in the future. And I believe we have done that for this case, and we believe it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Very good, thank you very much. If there's nothing further for Mr. Jones, I will invite the applicant, if you wish to come forward, introduce yourself, and talk to us about the case. Good evening.
Good evening, I'm Charla Lee, and I own the property in question here on Cameron Road. Basically, what we're trying to do with this easement is to unlock our property back in the back. We can't do anything with it. I don't want to bother the neighbor that has built something to the north, so we're going to the property next door to us, which happens to be owned by my daughter now, and she's here and she's in full approval of it. So eventually, we would like to get that pond onto one parcel of land and still maintain separate parcels so that can stay back there as agricultural and then have our residential. As far as future building back there, you know, we don't have any plans for that. We just want to get the red flag off the property.
I could understand that, but from the beginning of your comments, is the intention, in addition to getting rid of the flag, just access to the back of the property? You said you didn't have any plans to develop, but so is this really more of an access issue to the back of the property?
Yes,
Okay.
it's to have access to the back of the property. It's landlocked, we can't do anything with it, so. That's, you know, like I said, eventually we want to get that pond off onto one parcel as well.
Gotcha.
So, and we have to go through the variance request first.
Gotcha. Let me see if there are any questions. No? Then short and sweet. Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Appreciate that. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor or opposition of case 25-122? Come on forward and please introduce yourself.
Good evening, I'm Cassandra Bond. I own the property in question that the easement would be going through, and I just wanted to come up here and let you guys hear from my mouth that I'm in approval with the plan too. So that's it, short and sweet.
Any questions? Seems pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. Anyone else who wishes to speak for or against 25-122? Sure. Please introduce yourself.
David Rodas, 20212 Northeast 69 Highway, Liberty, Missouri. Access back there would be for future development or build a place, you know. Other than that, you can drive across the field to get back to it. So if there was going to be any development, this area has been described as a war zone, you know, explosions everywhere, destruction of homes, families and property values, and now you want access to get back to where there's possibility of building something. A little bit of hypocrisy there. But also, the Cameron Road Group went to the city of Excelsior to ask for help in my situation on what I want to do with my property. So, city of Excelsior, with a 24-hour notice, passed an ordinance for a November hostile annexation, and this property is part of it. So there's a looming annexation by the city of Excelsior on this property. So to do something on it now is, you know, a little bit premature. You know, I'm having to deal with the city of Excelsior on the future looming annexation. They should too, in my opinion.
I can appreciate that. I will note that potential annexations aren't necessarily one of the criteria that we look at. Your point is well taken, but again, that's what we're deciding on. I don't want to speak out of turn for this committee, but I will say that any action that a city may take, whether that's in the short term or long term, is somewhat immaterial to our criteria.
Yeah.
I do want to recognize what you've said, but I also want at the same time.
I understand.
Yeah.
And also understand, if they get the variance here, it goes to planning and zoning, which I
Correct.
sit on the planning and zoning,
Yeah.
you know, which I would abstain from a vote on this one, you know. And unlike the accusations that's been thrown out on me, I take my position on that very seriously, and I conduct myself in a proper manner on it, you know. But I would have an opinion on it.
No, understood.
But,
Understood. Any questions for?
Yep.
Yes, please.
You know, I was going to say the same thing he said. This really isn't relevant as far as the issues that are arising out there, which are many. But I have to say this. When I talked to these folks, called me, and they were concerned and said, can you do anything to help us? And I didn't. I thought they were going back to you. I didn't know they were coming here, to be honest, until a couple days ago. But you talk about them driving across the pasture, but after you turned down their request, didn't you go to them and try to buy that land?
Turn down a request on what?
After you turned them down on planning and zoning?
No, I never have sit on planning. They've never been in front of planning and zoning. Well, I sit on it.
You sit on planning and zoning.
Well, yeah, I've been on planning
Well,
and
but
zoning for
before
some
this
years.
gets to
Yeah, correct.
back
Would you
and
please?
forth, I will also say that that particular line of questioning also doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Well-
I think it does because he carries a lot of weight as a member of the planning and zoning, and to speak about the people not getting this and they can just drive across their land. I think that, you know, I can drive across my land to my back property if I want to.
Sure.
But I've got to go through ditches and everything else to get back there.
Sure.
So if they get a simple variance for them to access the back of their property, I just don't see that it's of any negative. There'll be nothing negative about them doing that. And if in November, the city of which I hate to lose everybody as our people, but if by some chance it passes, then they can always go to the city of Excelsior and they'll probably give them a variance to go back there. I thought this was something that we kind of made some mistakes ourselves as our Board of Zoning Adjustments or Planning and Zoning. whatever it was. It was flagged, and yet we went ahead and sold, let them do what they wanted to do on the land further down. So I just feel that, you know, these people have kind of been put in a bad position, and I'd like to see them get that easement, so.
Okay. Well, let me.
Anyway, thank you,
Let me see if
David.
there's, okay, is there anything further for?
Nothing else.
Well, there's someone who wants you, but I think you're good. I think you're good for the moment. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I did see another hand go up. Okay. Let me double check. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak, and then I'll give the owner of the property. Okay.
Pam Smith. I live on 24020 Northeast Cameron Road, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from the lease property. I don't see a problem with it myself. It's their property. It's just an easement to go, or whatever you want to call it, to go back to their own property. I don't know what the big deal is. I think we're just trying to nitpick. You did this to me, I'm going to do this to you.
Right.
I just think it's silly. Let them have it's their property. I think they should be allowed to have it.
Okay. Any questions from Smith? No. If not, thank you very much. Appreciate it. If there's no one else, then please come on up, Ms. Lee, and we'll take your final comments.
I just want to address the issue of being able just to drive across my land to that back lot. With the pond being in the center of all three properties, back behind my house, it sits low, so we have to drive to the high side to get back there to stay, you know, out of the wet. So thus, we need to have that easement on the other lot. So it's just not a matter of driving across our land.
Got it.
I wish it was that easy.
Got it. Thank you very much. I'll take one more, ma'am. Please introduce yourself.
Colleen Rodas. I'm concerned with who's going to maintain this easement? Can we have some kind of a guarantee that they're going to maintain this easement? And what if they decide to put something back there besides a house?
Sure.
What is our recourse? Do we have any at all?
You would not hear. And if I channel Mr. Jones for a moment, he can correct anything I say. Those sorts of questions come through the next step if a variance is granted. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So from our side of things, that is not contemplated. We just go by that criteria. The questions that you have will come in the next step, should it reach the next step, because at that point then they will talk about
But
what
if
that
these
looks like.
people bought this land years ago, and they knew that this was going to be landlocked, then why all of a sudden do now they want an easement? And how is that going to affect our property where we run cattle, or, you know, there's a lot of concerns here. And I'm tired of the bickering. I'm tired of the north and the south. I'm here because I want to know, and I want to know what our, how do I want to say this? What our rights are, I guess.
Sure. So again, all we
Because
are
if-
contemplating is whether or not the property owner should have the opportunity to move forward with what they are asking for. But the actual product of that comes later in that next step, where you get more specific as to, well, what does that road look like? Who maintains that, and what are the...
And if
What-
they don't, what recourse do we
Correct.
have?
Those, you want to speak to that, Mr. Jones?
Yes, please. I would recommend that Ms. Rodas reach out to the Planning and Zoning Department, schedule an appointment, and we would be happy to discuss these things in depth with you as to what's going to occur next and what options you have.
Yeah, and I would just note that just as the group in the neighbors in the last case had the rights to the answer to those questions, you do as well, related to this case,
Yeah.
should it move forward. So I would invite you and to reach out to Mr. Jones' office. He can go through those processes with you, explain if you go to that next step, what information should be available to you, and so on and so forth. So you're asking the right questions.
Yep.
You have a right to ask those questions. We just don't get into those particular issues here. If it gets to the planning committee, then they will.
So if you vote yes for this variance, then it doesn't go to planning and zoning?
If we vote yes for the variance, it must go to planning and
Yeah.
zoning because that would be the next step. Our granting of a variance does not mean that they can do whatever they want. All it does give them is the right to go forward and go to that next step.
So they cannot move any dirt, do
Yeah, so
anything?
tonight if we said, you know what, we're going to grant that variance, tomorrow morning they cannot bring the bulldozers.
Yeah, okay.
There are further steps for them to go. This is only the first of several if we say we're okay with that variance. And even those next steps require a public meeting to which then you have the opportunity to ask those very same questions and either display that you are satisfied with what you've heard or that you are not. So this is not the end-all be-all. This is actually.
But what I don't understand is they didn't want to build there before, and now everybody is all upset about Idecker and the mining, and as I understand, they'll be mining underground. And they have been underground mining at my daughter's. She has a barn with a concrete floor.
Right.
It has not bothered anything.
So-
So I don't understand.
So ma'am, I will suggest to you that anything related to Idecker, I don't care about tonight.
Okay.
It does not matter.
Okay, I
Because
just
whether
don't
or not-
understand why now they want to put a house back there when they've all been complaining about how this shatters their foundations.
So I would also
don't
suggest,
understand.
I would also suggest to you, if a house was planned, that would be coming forward as well.
Yeah.
So I am not clairvoyant. And I'm not
Okay.
clairvoyant on any case that is coming to me
I
tonight.
understand.
I understand that there are issues that are going on outside of this
Oh, yeah.
request. And
It's awful.
I won't litigate those tonight either.
No, I don't
but-
want to
but
go
I-
there.
right.
I don't want to go there.
But I do want to say to you that any decision that's made by this group this evening, whether it is for or against a variance, does not produce anything tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that. If we say no, then that's that. Now, there are still issues that are still
Pending.
there because of, as Mr. Jones has suggested, how this was done was not done correctly. And so there's still an issue they've got to go resolve. Still an issue there. But if we say yes, they still have more work to do. There's more things that have to come before the public in a meeting like this
Public
one,
forum.
although we will not be a part of that next step.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I also want to match your expectations to what we're doing.
Yeah, because we farm there, we are on Rodas Road,
Sure.
and now they're trying to annex us in. We farmed there, there's been a family member on that road for well over 100 years.
Sure.
So with this annexation, what's that going to do to our livelihood?
Yeah.
And that's what if they're pushing for this easement, what else are they going to push and reject? Are they going to suddenly say, your cows smell, so you can't run cattle?
Well, unfortunately, I can't speak to that
I have so
either.
many questions.
I can appreciate that, and unfortunately, I don't know that we can provide answers that are going to be satisfactory to that. What I do know is that if we agree to move forward with a variance, you will have the opportunity to ask those questions in a similar setting to this one. And I would certainly invite you to reach out to Mr. Jones, who can go through even more descriptively what that process may look like and how you can at least attempt to try to get those questions answered.
And are any of the commissioners here on that planning and zoning board?
No, no commissioners serve on that. If you
Yeah,
want to,
Actually,
oh, Jerry does, I'm sorry, the
yeah.
presiding commissioner
Yeah.
does. Thank you. But otherwise, they are citizens.
Because it's
like any-
concerning to me, because one of your commissioners is very much for the annexation and the
Sure.
people on Cameron Road.
Yeah, to that I can't speak to. And again,
I just want it to be honest and
Sure.
above board.
understood. And so again, from our perspective, our lens is a very tight one. It's what's up there. And all of those other issues have other means of being dealt with, whether
Okay.
they are satisfactory or not, I won't guess on that. But again, I think if the issue is you've got questions you want to get answers for that are specific to what is actually going to be developed, if it reaches that point,
Right.
you will have that opportunity to hear that and ask questions to that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, no, I appreciate the questions and I also recognize the concerns as well. Sleep, we'll go ahead and let you close us out.
Well, I
Or
had
did
something,
you-
I had something for her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you pop up the layout of the land and where the easement's gonna go? Okay, now where's the easement gonna be? Okay, clear, okay, and this is, what's this road coming up the front there?
so that's Cameron
Oh,
Road to the
Cameron
east.
Road. Oh, okay, okay. And so, did you see where they're gonna do that easement? Now, where are you from there?
I can't honestly.
Oh, okay, this is Cameron. Okay, there you go. All right, see there, where's the, I just thought maybe we could put her mind at ease.
So that's roughly where
Okay.
that's a really bad drawing, but that's where it is. So I don't know where
Okay,
Miss Rodas is from there. I believe they farm over in here,
where's Rodas Road?
right?
Right next to the airport.
Yeah.
It would be
Okay,
right-
that runs down alongside of the airport.
Right there.
Okay, okay, yeah. So not, okay, all right.
Okay,
All right, that's all I had.
very good. Ms. Lee?
I just wanted to address one concern. The red flag we did not know about until I was attempting to give my daughter the 3 acres to the north of us. That was in 2022. So it's not something we bought knowing that it was there. And
Yep.
going forward, we're just merely trying to correct the county, the issues with the property, getting the pond off onto one parcel. And we have to have an easement in order to do anything with that back property. So whether or not we build anything, that's not in our plan, but at least the properties will be
Extensive.
taken care of to where going forward, if there's any changes to be made, at least we've got that taken care of, so.
Very good. And any more questions for, okay, very good. Thank you very much. If there is no further public testimony, then I'll bring it back to the committee for any questions, thoughts, concerns, or motions, as the case may be.
Should I have that on? The way that they're looking at this right now, there was some red flags, there were some things that played into all of this. But I think the bottom line is, right now, what they're asking for is nothing but a variance to allow them to get back to their back property, past the pond. I don't really see that there's anything negative. And as you stated clearly, if down the road they came back and said, hey, I want to put a house back there, then it's going to be a whole hoo-ha all over again. They're going to have to go to him and get the necessary documentation, go through planning and zoning and all that kind of stuff. If they're not looking at it in the near term, then it may never happen unless somebody else buys all their land and then decides to do it. I don't think we can make a decision based upon what might happen in the future, but how is it right now? So for my money, I would say that we grant the variance.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. My comment will, since I kind of brought this up on the last one, it does strike me that having property lines go through ponds create interesting issues perhaps down the road, not the least of which who gets to claim the fish that come out of it, perhaps, not to make light of the conversation, but even something like that. So it does strike me that that asset needs to belong to a property and not have issues down the road with that, which speaks to me, at least, to the uniqueness of the issue. With that, I'll entertain any further discussion or any motions. Commissioner Lawson.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve, what's the number on this puppy?
25, oh, I'm sorry, 25-122.
25 dash what?
122.
122? Okay, 25-122 be approved to grant the variance.
Is there a second? Second. It has been moved and seconded to grant the variance for case number 25-122. Is that sufficient for you, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
If it is, then please call the roll.
Joanne Lawson.
Yes.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Scott Wagner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much. And we will move on to case number 25-123. Staff report.
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
Yes.
So this case involves a variance pertaining to the home occupation section of our code, specifically to a request to allow a home occupation that does not meet the employee standard, the resident operator, and hours of operation and customer sections of that specific code. So just a little bit of background information on this one. Staff did advise the applicant to request a non-use variance to the home occupation code rather than a use variance. So if approved, it could be tied to the applicant personally instead of being transferred or being tied to the property, so it can be transferred whenever it sells. So, so currently the property is roughly 19 acres, zoned ag, and has access from in-highway. The applicant is requesting a variance to section 151 6.3C of the Land Development Code. That code regulates how and when a resident can legally operate a business from their home, ensuring that it does not negatively affect the surrounding neighborhood or change the residential character of the area. And just kind of a quick rundown of what exactly a home occupation is. Essentially, it's a business that it's what it says, it is ran from the home. The code breaks down where it's allowed and what specific zoning district, what types of businesses are allowed or what are expressly not allowed, operational limits such as the size, the amount of customers, signage, noise, etc. And then also we require permits with home occupations. And the belief that the goal for home occupations are to allow small-scale, low-impact businesses in homes while protecting the quiet residential nature of the neighborhood. So the applicant is requesting the variances home occupation for specifically to allow to have employees on the property. The applicant is the owner of this property, but she is not the resident of the house, so she does not meet the owner or the non-resident operator. And then she's also requesting for changes with hours of operation and then the amount of customers allowed on a daily use. The applicant has submitted a letter addressing the criteria and a site plan. Both the letter and site plan are attached to your staff report. And again, with all of our variance requests, we look at the same approval criteria that Kip and myself earlier had went over. This is the surrounding area to kind of give you an idea of where we're talking about in the county. So over here, that's Cooley Lake. On the X to the east is Ray County, and then you can kind of see in the bottom the Missouri River. So it's in a very rural area of the county. And with that, we deal with our standard public notice requirements, which are posting a sign on site, publishing in a newspaper. And for this case, and you can see, based on that previous image of where we're at, we had to go 4,000 feet, 4,000 foot radius to get to the 26 letters. So it was quite the radius there, and that kind of gives you an idea of how not very populated it is. Let's see. The staff has received calls with questions regarding this variance request. It was really just follow-up questions. No, nobody expressing opposition, and the staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and applicant is present. And I would also like to add too, the applicant has provided a video that I'll show after. If you guys have any questions for me, I'll show it before the applicant comes up and discusses her case.
Very good. Any questions for staff? I guess no questions, so we'll go with the video.
All right. Let's get to the right one.
Okay, so this is New Highway. That's my closest neighbor right there. All field, and there's the house. So in the back of the house right here is parking, as you drive through the gate. This is the other side of New Highway, you can see where the building is. So this is the location that I am see for the
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll, if we're good on the staff side, then we'll, okay, that was going through those slides pretty fast, so, okay. I'll go ahead and ask if the applicant's here, and please feel free to come forward and introduce yourself and talk about your project.
Hi, my name is Erica Todd. So I do not currently live at this house. However, this has been my family home my whole life. As a matter of fact, it's 4 generations of my family. Nobody else has ever lived here. So I live 3 miles just up the road from here. So while I don't actually live in it, I'm not very far. And I have previously run businesses, open businesses. So keeping the overhead limited is obviously very important when starting a business. And so I thought, while I have a property that suits what I need in a very small capacity with a small amount of clients, to start there.
Okay.
As it won't, it won't disrupt anybody around us, because you can see it's corn and beans.
Questions from Commissioner Carpenter?
Hi, thank you. So you're saying you don't live there currently?
No, I live about 3 miles from there.
Okay. And is it your intention to reside there?
Not currently, no. I
And
can't say what the future would be, but I will not be selling it. It's, like I said, it's 4 generations of my family's home and land, so.
Understood, thank you. So question for Director Jones then. I've read that the principal use of the properties has to be residential, that it can't be commercial. So is that an issue, or is that part of the variance?
So the structure is not going to be altered, so we still consider the structure a principal residential structure. And as Shane said, we had options to go with this case. And as Shane said, we didn't want to go with just a flat use variance, because that could stay with the property forever. We thought the better way was to go the home occupation and allow or ask for a variance where it says that the operator has to be a resident in the home. We just thought that was a better route to go because that home occupation ties to Ms. Todd, and if she is not running the business, then the home occupation and the variance go away. Does that make sense?
Yes. Just this language around that the commercial activity has to be subordinate to the primary activity, which is residential. If nobody's residing in the home,
We still consider it a residential home that somebody could live in. Maybe that's stretching the rules a little bit,
No,
but that's
that's
how I interpret that, yes.
works for me. Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Thank you very much. Let's see if there is anyone who wishes to speak for or in opposition of case 25-123. Seeing none, is there anything else you would like to add, Ms. Todd? That's fine. I just always ask, so that's okay. If not, I'll bring it back to the committee for any comments, questions, or anything else.
Yeah, I think my main comment is this, for me, is largely neighbor-driven. The fact that there don't seem to be issues from the neighbors, because, this is a fairly significant variance. Normally, the cap would be at 6 clients per day. This would extend that cap quite a bit higher, 6 per class with multiple classes per day. Also, the normal earliest you could start would be 8 a.m. This has a 6:30 a.m. So one could imagine a neighbor not being thrilled that at 6:30 in the morning every morning there's a whole bunch of cars, driving in for business activity. But I think what we have here is a super rural location in which the neighbors seem to be okay with the business operation. So if that's the case, I'm good with it too.
Okay. Then I'll entertain any motion if anyone wants to make one.
I will move that we approve 25-123, approve the adjustment.
Okay. It has moved and seconded to approve 25-123, a variance for that case. Mr. Jones, please call the roll.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Joanne Lawson. Scott Wagner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. We move on to 25-124. Mr. Jones.
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the report as part of the official record, please.
Accepted. Thank you.
So again, I'm kind of piggybacking off Shane because this is a similar request to what you just heard. The subject property is noted in the blue there, roughly 9.5 acres, zoned agricultural, access from Nation Road, and it is part of a platted subdivision called Clearview Acres, which was recorded in 1986. So this request, as you can see from the picture, is for sales and storage of accessory buildings. So they store a few buildings on site, can have customers come and view the buildings, and then the buildings can be placed on the customer's property. So as Shane said, the goal of the home occupation code is to allow certain home occupations and mitigate the effects on the neighbors. And for this request, there are 3 sections of that code that the applicant is proposing a variance from, which are the outdoor activities, the exterior appearance, and the retail sales. And I'll talk about those in depth here in a minute. So there's the subject property. You can see, I think I broke it. So anything without color is inside city limits of Kearney. So it is to the east and west is city of Kearney. We did reach out to the city, and their letter was actually part of the second submittal that was on your desk. It was a letter of opposition. This is new residential to the west, and then there's commercial industrial to the east. And this commercial area, kind of catty corner on 92 Highway, is in unincorporated. So it's kind of a unique area. So again, that section of code is 151-6.3C. It requires all activities to take place inside the structure. From the photo, you can obviously see that's not occurring. No, there cannot be visible evidence of the home occupation when viewed from the street or adjacent property. Obviously, that is not being met. And retail sales is prohibited unless it is conducted as an accessory to a provided service. So the example I use there is if you're cutting hair as your primary service, you can sell hair care products. Obviously, the purpose of this is retail sales to sell those accessory buildings. And I will note that obviously you can see the property being used that way now. This did start as a code enforcement case. Again, the 4 conditions that the applicant has the burden of proof to meet. The applicant is present and is prepared to speak on these 4 criteria tonight. We went through our normal public notice requirements. I will say thank you to the commission for not requiring 1,500 feet for every case, because with the 1,000-foot radius, we sent 120 letters for this case. So that was not much fun. The applicant provided a letter addressing the criteria, a letter of support from an adjacent property owner, 2 site plans, a rebuttal to the opposition letters, which we received 1 letter from the city of Kearney and 1 letter from a citizen, and the rebuttal was included in the packet provided to you. And again, the applicant is present, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Jones? Yes? No? Commissioner Carpenter? Anything? No. All right, then thank you very much, and I will invite the applicant to come forward. And please give us your name and give us your testimony.
My name is Anna Jacobs. This is my husband and partner, Jason Jacobs. I have a letter that I'm going to give to Kip. This was just received by us this afternoon. We received a request from one of our customers and also a neighbor to the north of us on Nation Road, asking how she could possibly assist in this, and a letter was the best way to be able to do that.
All right, thank you.
At this time, I would like to read a statement to you and then turn it over for questions.
Sure.
I appreciate your consideration in this. The purpose of Kearney Shed LLC is to help our customers build their dreams. This has included our customers' dreams of building a separate space for quilting hobby, a functional space to house a zero-turn mower and other lawn equipment, and a greenhouse to grow food for a family, and a garage for a tack room for a horse ranch. When we initially started this business, our understanding of the county codes was that we were within our rights to conduct this business on our agricultural property. Since learning that this is not the case, we have worked with Director Kip Jones and his staff to determine what permits and variances best fit our request to continue to conduct business on our property. We appreciate, again, your consideration in this matter and Mr. Jones and his staff assistance as we pursue this. After our initial meeting with Director Jones and his staff, we spoke to both of our neighbors to the north and the south that are also on agricultural property. And the most important thing to us was that if they were in opposition to this, the case, we would be closed with it. That would be all there was for us. We had long conversations with both of them, and all 4 of them, as 2 of them you can see, sent letters. All 4 of them had indicated to us that they were not in opposition to us continuing. The format of our business is limited to sales. The manufacturer, Dirksen Portable Buildings, contracts with an Amish shop in Sedalia, Missouri to build our sheds, so none of the sheds are built on site. With this model, we do not have any outdoor inventory other than completely ready-to-sell units. And when an in-stock shed is sold, a transportation company in Lincoln, Missouri is contracted with our manufacturer to move the shed from our property to the delivery address. I would like to give you a few numbers to hopefully help my cause. Many of our customer service and sales interactions are conducted strictly via phone or internet. 50% of this month's customers never came to our property. Our website and Facebook presence allow us to complete these orders without an in-person meeting. However, 50% of our customers preferred to view their options and meet us in person. 56% of our sales this year have been for custom buildings. These buildings were delivered directly to the customers and were never on our property. 44% of our sales were for in-stock buildings. However, a portion of those sales were built at the Sedalia shop and delivered directly to the customer. The Clay County itself receives sales tax whether they're in stock or not. 63% of the current inventory on our property falls within the allowable 120 square footage for accessory buildings not requiring a permit on agricultural land in Clay County, Missouri. In June and July of this year, the manufacturer began to increase our on-property inventory, as you can see in the picture, because I had increased my sales and requested more inventory. However, I was soon given more inventory than originally anticipated because a dealer in St. Joe went out of business and his inventory was transferred to our lot. Of the buildings that you see on our property, 8 of them are unsold. The rest of them are sold. The sold inventory will be removed in approximately 1 to 2 weeks. It is my desire to keep 6 to 12 inventory buildings on our lot for potential customers to view the quality of craftsmanship, material options, and structural aspects of these sheds. Again, I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much. Sir, is there anything you wish to add?
No, I'm here to answer questions if there's any questions.
I'm a good husband
She
too,
wants to do that to me,
so. Fair enough, fair enough. I'll open it up to our committee members if they have any questions for you.
I do.
Please go right ahead,
okay.
Commissioner Lawson.
I think I know right where you are. You're on Nation Road, right? Are you like going to Dogwood?
Yes, if you were to go up to Dogwood.
If I
yes.
kept going,
You're gonna
and you'd
pass the
be,
house.
if I were going to Dogwood, you'd be on my right side.
That is correct.
Right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I pass by there, I see everything, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I know.
when we originally got notified by KIP of the violation, like we had our sign out there, which was, again, I put a sign out, we've removed the sign. We have spent time talking with KIP at length to try to determine the best path forward in this so that we impact the neighborhood the least, and we're not asking for a variance that, KIP's recommendation, that does not change the property. When we spoke to our neighbors, that was very important to them, to not have something that if we left the property and there was a neighbor that wasn't in communication and didn't want to make sure that we all stayed friends, and they couldn't have a used car lot or something like that show up on the property, you know, and not have control over it. So
How
that
many
is why
acres?
we are pursuing this particular path.
How many acres do you have there?
We have, I guess it was 10 acres, but it's 9.75 after
Okay.
some easements or some land had been taken off of each end for the roadways. So, because there was I guess a potential road between Platte Clay at one point, and so some land was taken off the back for
Right.
that never happened, so.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? I think I'm good with questions for the moment. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on or for or against 25-124? Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Yes, come on up. You were way over there. I was totally confused. I was looking for you. No, I'm kidding.
I was hiding in the corner.
That's okay. Please give us your name.
Leonard Lesniak. I'm at 15405 Nation Road, which
All right.
is just to the north of the question property. We've lived there for 30 years. And when Jason and Anna moved in, they've probably improved that property more than the 2 previous people did in the last 5 years or so, 4 years. So from the standpoint of a neighbor, they've been a really good neighbor, and they keep up the property. If you look at where the sheds are, and everything is neat, everything is mowed. So again, as a neighbor, I really don't have a problem with what they're doing. Now, if there is an issue with the number of units, I can see where, you know, this commission needs to correct that. But again, as far as what they do and what they've done to that property in the last 4 years has been a big improvement.
Very good. Any questions for this gentleman? No, thank you, sir, very much. Yes, sir, come on forward. Please give us your name.
Yes, sir. My name is Ed Barger. I live in the Hills of Westwood subdivision, which if you look at the top red X, where that top line ends, that's Hills of Westwood.
Very good.
So those would be all the houses within 1,001 feet of the property, because nobody in that subdivision knew anything about it other than the sign in the yard that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And that's what the questions that came to me, that's been asked by several people. I understand in today's age, it's like there are a lot of people running businesses out of their home, people working from home and all that. They're not running a business out of the home, they turned their house into a commercial lot. That property is completely encapsulated by the city of Kearney. And every single occupancy address in the city of Kearney running a business requires off-road, hard surface parking and all of that. And now they're building something else now. I think there is some mixed information. We were under the impression, we were told that they were building an office to run their sales thing out of, which is not running a business out of your home. That's turning it into dual occupancy. But then somebody else told me they're building a she shed, kid getaway, whatever. So that part I'm unsure on. But and north of our subdivision, there's another subdivision going in by Mr. Tim Harris that's got another 400 houses on it. So that stands the potential to affect a lot of property values when you run a weird random commercial property in the middle of a subdivided area. And in the city of Kearney, and granted, I understand that one subdivision is still in the county, everything, you're either a commercial property or you're a residential property. You can't be both. And I know the county has worked hard with the city of Kearney to stay with the master plan with the way Kearney's laid out. And none of that stuff is designed for commercial property. So that's all I had.
All right. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Just one question.
Uh-huh.
I'm going back quite a ways.
Right.
But about, how long have you lived there?
I've lived in Hills of Westwood for 15 years.
15.
13
I think right before, a little bit before that, there was another commercial property there. The guy, I can't remember now what he sold, but he ended up moving over into the industrial area. Was that the same property?
No, Gary Trebe was a builder in that subdivision.
No,
and he rented and ran quasi-builder real estate office out of a house in the subdivision, and he had to move elsewhere. But there's never been a business inside the Hills of Westwood
there really
subdivision.
was. And that's what I was trying to remember, if it was in their area. It's got to have been 20 years, I'm sure.
The only commercial thing that I'm aware of, if you look down at the traffic circle, there was Judy's Clip and Curl right at the intersection, and they were there for...
No, this was up where they are, and he was had business back in there. And
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I don't know.
I know he moved into the industrial area because he needed more space and all that, but I didn't know if they took that over.
I'm not,
okay.
I don't know.
All right, that's fine.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir, very much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against 25-124? I'll get you a chance here just a second. Unless there's no one else who wishes to speak on this case. Then if not, please come on forward. This is your chance. Thank you.
So these were the concerns that you received. There was one from the developer of the housing addition, Cottonwood, I believe it is, right across the street kind of area. And we answered that in our letter to you guys, so I don't need to have to go through that again. But I believe there is a gentleman who used to run a business or something at one point up in the Clearview Acres, and I think that's what you're probably speaking to. I was just going to say that, yeah. So, but no, it's, again, our intent is not to have an industrial type thing, and I know that at the time of taking the photo, and even right now, there are a lot more, because when we walk out and they're like bringing a bunch of sheds, and they're like, we shut down a place in St. Joe. And so we're giving you all the inventory, which she has sold, thankfully. She got rid of it quickly. But as when we first started, we talked to Lenny and Wendy about was there are way more sheds out there right now than what we wanted to have. And one of the other things that I believe it was Mike with Planning and Zoning had asked us about, just to keep more of a buffer, because we have approximately 6 acres on the back of the property that's with the hill and with all the industrial park and everything that we have to look at from the backside of our property, that where we might be able to put some additional units or whatever if we want to hold higher inventory. We would just have to do some land work because we have a large pond, and that pond literally divides our property in half. And so we would have to work on the north end about putting in some drainage ditches and making a roadway to go to the back that we could haul those things back and forth on. And those are all things that we're happy to entertain, like I said, keeping up with our neighbors and making sure that, they have a beautiful place. I don't want to, make their oasis less of an oasis. So, and the other things about the other shed and the she shed, those are things that we've gotten permits for or in the process of, and they're not related. Those are, like I said, personal projects on our property that are totally unrelated to the Kearney shed business. So.
Can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I will say this, your property is very well maintained. I go by there all the time.
I appreciate that.
But here's my question, I hope it would put their mind at ease. Are you planning any kind of major expansion, or,
No.
what's your plan right now? Just the few sheds that you have?
So our current plan going forward, or what it has been, is we have been offered a shed. They've built a shed for us to do like an office so that we have a place that we can work out of. And then it's just to have a few sheds, like she said, 6, 12 at the max that we could have. We had, during that picture, I think we had 22 sheds or something. I mean, it was a crazy amount, way more than we'd ever intended. And like I said, they just dumped the inventory from the other place on us, and we were like, okay, guys, we can't be doing this. So, but yeah, and one of the other things that I went out and measured is in that photo, like I said, keeping in mind with what we are allowed to do, like on ag property, as far as like if we weren't running a business and we just wanted to, and I'm not trying to, but the county code allows us to place, there's no limit from what I understand, if I want to verify with Kip on ag property, the amount of outbuildings that we place on the property. And so by land development code, we could have sheds dotted all the way down the side of our property that we're given the right to do. And that was where I got messed up when I was like, okay, well, then we can have these sheds. And so, but then we're selling them. And like I said, it was working with Kip, trying to figure out how we're going to do this in a way that gives the community kind of a little more assurance that we can't just go crazy with it. And I can't start building sheds on the property. I can't, we're just asking for pre-built shed because I can't stick them all in a large building and house them in a building, which is what the home occupancy permit asks for.
Are you thinking this is about it when you have your displays?
Yes.
That these will probably be those that you'll continue to have, or do you plan on like expanding more on the other side of the drive?
No.
Okay.
I would like to speak to that and speak to his concerns as well. So this was a side income that was a good opportunity on our agricultural property that we thought we were in our rights to have. I homeschool 3 teenagers. I do not have time to make a mega business out of this.
I beg your pardon, say it again.
I homeschool 3 teenagers. I don't have time to make this a big conglomerate or whatever. So that's not my intention at all. And truthfully, as Lenny stated, part of the discussion with them was just talking about how many buildings had suddenly come into play when initially it was more like 6 to 10. And we're more than willing to keep that limited and have those discussions with the manufacturer as well, which they're fine with that as well.
Okay. Kip, is this a forever variance, or is this like for a year or what?
So I'm glad you brought that up because I want to clarify a few things. So So you can place conditions on the variance if you chose to, whether that would be a time length, a number of structures that are allowed. You can place conditions that mitigate the effects on the adjacent property owners. And as with the previous case, we picked the home occupation code variance rather than trying to rezone or do a use variance that would go with the property that would allow different commercial uses with the rezoning or allow this use to stay with the land. So if the variance is approved, it goes with the Jacobs only. If they discontinue, it would have to be a new variance request from somebody else. The applicant is correct that we don't limit the number of sheds on a property as long as they meet their setback requirements and pull building permits if needed. And up to 1,000 square feet of an accessory building is allowed for a home occupation. So if they wanted to use one of these accessory buildings as an office, if it's less than 1,000 square feet, they would be allowed to do that by the code. And I think that's all I had.
Okay.
Anything further?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no further testimony, then I will bring it back to the committee for conversation, questions, concerns, or anything else.
Well, my thought is I've got a lot more concern about this one than the previous home occupancy business. This is a significantly bigger departure from what is traditionally a home business operation, engaging in retail sales, which is normally prohibited, engaging in outdoor activity and sales, which is normally prohibited, signage, all of the rest. So to me, it no longer feels like a home business and starts to feel just like a traditional commercial business with inventory on a lot that is for sale. And it occurs to me that that is probably better done in on a property that is zoned for that purpose, commercial purpose. So those would be my concerns. Obviously, you have mixed reports from some of the neighbors are good with it. Love hearing from them. Obviously, we heard from several folks and the developer nearby that they're opposed. So certainly, my inclination would be to deny the variance, but look forward to hearing y'all's thoughts too.
Very well. Any comments that you care to make?
Here's how I feel. They really drive by there. It's quite well maintained, and they are on a big acreage. Well, not big, but 10 acres. The thing that my concern was, I'd like to make sure if they're going to do, if we give this variance, that we would give it for 3 years or something of that nature. That we would also limit to what they have today, no more than the units they have today. Then I wouldn't feel uncomfortable about it. But if we're going to just give carte blanche and anything could happen, even though they, I'm sure they're honest, good people, but nevertheless, situations change. So if we granted it, I would have to feel that we need to grant it with stipulations. And how would you feel were we to do that? Would you feel better about it, or would you still feel that that might be a stretch?
I mean, personally, I think because of the criteria we have before us, I think certainly, the third criteria about constituting a practical difficulty on the homeowner, I think, given that they've made some business investment here, I think we are probably good on that one. The other three criteria to me, it doesn't seem like an especially unique piece of property. It seems like anybody could, on their non-commercial property, do the same. In terms of adversely affecting others, again, mixed reports from the neighbors, but some of the neighbors are saying they don't want a big outdoor commercial operation on ag land next to them. And then the last criteria too about the comprehensive plan, I think we do this kind of zoning of different types of commercial versus ag for a reason, and this is again a very highly visible sort of significant retail operation.
Extremely.
And And so it is a pretty big departure, much bigger than having, an indoors Pilates class.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty reluctant to move forward with granting the variance, but I would love to hear from the other commissioner too.
Sure. So I tend to, having had a home-based business back many, many years ago, but service, not retail, there is great, there is a great need to keep it somewhat unobtrusive, which I think has been brought up here related to this. It does strike me, particularly with the first criteria, when we generally talk about this, it has to do with the property itself. You can't do things because the property doesn't let you. You have to make changes or ask for things because there are aspects of the property. I mean, we talked about tonight, multiple properties were sitting on a pond. Well, okay, that is something that is unique to that property. You're going to do something. In this case, we have a property that, frankly, is not a lot different than the one next to it, the one next to that, and so on. And so I do wonder, the use is unique, but the property itself, I'm not sure that it is, which would then strike me as a reason why you would not grant a variance for that reason. It also strikes me, and maybe this is a question for you, Mr. Jones, just so I understand, these properties that are currently within the county are basically surrounded by Kearney. And it would be my expectation at some point that Kearney may choose, although I have no idea, should they want to, but it strikes me that at some point they may choose to annex this, which is probably part of the reason why you have the letter that you have. My question to you is simply, were we to grant a variance to the property for this use, and should they choose to annex this at some point, does our variance supersede what their zoning may be if and when they were to annex these properties?
That is a really good question that I don't think I know the answer to. And I don't know if Andy would have an answer to that, but just to make sure I'm understanding, you're asking if you grant the variance and they annex into Kearney, would Kearney have to,
would they have to honor the variance? Yes. Or would they say, well, no, that's against our land use?
I'm just spitballing, but I would think they could put conditions if they were annexing it in, that they would not have to follow that. But to your point, that's why with this case and the case on Cameron Road, that's why we reached out to the cities to include them in this process, because the comp plan is riddled with working with adjacent cities. We have to do that. We need to do that. We don't want to do anything that's going to be a problem for them in the future.
Sure. I don't know, Council, do you have an opinion on that question?
I'd have to research that. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Well, I won't pretend to, but it does just strike me that there is perhaps, make it a quick one. Come on up and ask that question.
So my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, that Kearney has a comprehensive plan that goes to 2040. And in that plan, this area of property is not mentioned for annexation. I'm only asking because of the time option brought up earlier.
Sure. Well, fair enough. Thank you. And again, I have no idea, but just throw that out there just to see if that is an issue that we need to be aware of. Mr. Jones, is there anything further?
I was just going to say, for both those issues, we could research that and get answers, but obviously that probably wouldn't be tonight.
Sure, I understood. So with that in mind, I'll just ask my colleagues, we can certainly choose to take action based on what we already know. If those issues that I've asked are of interest to find out the answer to, we can certainly do that and put off a decision until our next meeting. But that's really all I had to add to the conversation. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the committee for any questions, concerns, or any actions that we wish to take.
Well, I'll just say, I think Commissioner Lawson's, I think it's a fair compromise. It's a generous compromise, to the business operation. And so respect the proposal. I think I would still side with just not doing the variance, which may mean that it's up to you, Commissioner, in terms of deciding that.
The crown weighs heavily,
Yes.
as it were.
But I wouldn't approve if we didn't have severe stipulations, so.
So I will take any suggestions and/or motions if anyone has them. Commissioner Lawson?
I make a motion, I got to put my glasses on here, that we approve 25-124 with exact stipulations. Were we to put those on there, do we have to do that right now and say what we want?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I would say I would do a 2-year variance, and that they cannot expand the number of a number of units that they currently have, that it has to stay at that number.
And I honestly don't know what that number is.
How many, what was that, 10 you had now? I thought that's what I counted, but I couldn't be sure.
Give me a moment, because what I have not sold is what I have to count in my mind. So as of next week, or honestly probably Thursday, we'll have 8.
What have you got?
As of Thursday or next week, when they take away all the ones that were sold, we'll have 8.
8?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
part of what you're not seeing, and this was, I believe, a comment that was made to Kip through a phone call, was there was someone who asked if they could be put, because we have a hill from the road, there's a hill and then it goes down to the pond, and they were asked if we could put, so there are quite a few of them that are actually down that hill. You can kind of see how you're starting to only see half of the buildings. And so there's quite a few of them that are down the bottom side. And so that's one of the things that we have talked about is we can't get them all down there, but it was keeping more. And that again kind of brought up the idea of what Mike was saying, where you can see the trees that go around the pond and divide that off was, because we have both of our neighbors who are in favor, and we understand that we have a housing association across that some aren't in favor of. Kind of doing if we keep the bulk of it out of sight, out of mind is what he said, maybe that can help us to continue to do what we would like to do while still being respectful of, which we're trying to do, of those that, because it's a totally different world going from the county on this side to the city on this side. And we're kind of strange because we're stuck in the middle of heavy industrial with Platte Clay and all their inventory in the back, and the industrial park with wind, water, and all their exposed, inventory. When we go to the back of our property and put those pictures up, sorry, but that's what you see.
Right.
And so we're kind of like, I respect the city, but I'm like, the city doesn't have a problem if they say we're residential. They don't have a problem giving us that view while saying, but we don't want you to have, we don't want these guys to have that view. And so that's where, as I stated in our letter before, it's kind of that bitter thing where I want to work with everybody. I love the city of Kearney. I love being a part of the community events and so forth. And so I'm in no way trying to tear down the city of Kearney or the appearance or, the neighborhoods or any of that. And it was just one of the things, I know there's a lot here, again, like I said, that's visible. But the Hills of Westwood is a community that does allow sheds. There are lots of sheds throughout their community. The one right across from us, I guess, I heard they voted and they decided they didn't want sheds in their HOA.
Sure.
So like I said, we've kept that in mind as the fact that if they don't want sheds in their own community, they probably don't really want to look at a ton of sheds.
Right.
And so, like I said, that's something that I would just put out to the committee that we are happy to entertain if there are restrictions where you guys are like, only so many of them up front or something like that, and we figure out how to make the rest of them. But like I said, it's a unique thing because we're not building them. I don't have stocks of lumber. They're not listening to saws and building material. And like I said, I would like to continue to do it if at all possible, but I also fully respect the fact that we need to be respectful of the other ones, you know, the city, the neighborhoods across the street. And so that's all I have to say.
Gotcha.
Oh,
All right.
and how many buildings have you got back behind?
Well, right now we have 20, 18?
No.
Okay.
What have you got?
Hold on. I'm going to count in my head. My apologies. So one of the buildings, let's see. I believe 16. I want to say
I
that.
can't hear you, honey.
I believe it's 16. However,
16? Okay.
I can tell you multiples of those are sold. So
But she's trying to.
16 is going to be close to what you see in the.
Okay, and then, now something just popped into my little brain here. So, how long have you had this set up?
Since last August.
Okay. Did we give them some kind of a approval back then?
No. I don't know what month we started code enforcement, but it was earlier this year we started the code enforcement process. We were not aware until somewhat recently.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I would suggest maybe if you're going to go the condition route, you may consider using the front build line of the home as a setback barrier. Not allow any structure in front of that front build line. That's just an option.
How would you feel about that?
Well, I think, to me, for me personally, it's a matter of the whole package. So I would certainly say that setback becomes important, the number becomes important, where they are stored becomes important. I mean, all of those things are important because again, for me, I'm still weighing the fact that the property is the property. And it's not the property that's the concern here, which normally would be the criteria, it's the use, right? So, but if there is a compromise that is workable, I'll certainly personally entertain it, but that is, I guess I would just say, in some respects, it doesn't matter what the setback is, it doesn't matter how many you have, the criteria is it an issue of the property? And I'm somewhat of, well, any property that, if you were next door to that property, we would be having the same discussion because it's the property is not the issue. It is the use that is the issue.
Yeah.
And so, respectfully, that is my problem that I'm trying to do some mental gymnastics with. But again, setback is an issue. If you to resolve it, you've got setback numbers and where do you store?
Yeah, and that's my thing. I would give a short variance, maybe a 3-year variance. I would say that these have to be, so now it poses another question. How many people pull into your driveway because of what's sitting out there and ask you if they want to buy one of your units?
So again, because of my other regular life activities, typically I require a scheduled appointment. People are allowed to pull into the driveway and look. At the most, we have, I tried to put a number together for you guys, but at the most, it's like 5 a week. I sometimes have busier days, where there's 2 or 3. But again, typically, I would say the most amount of people who have come in a week is 7.
But if I can, to answer your question directly, we typically don't see, honestly, hardly any who just sporadically pull into the driveway to look. It's almost always someone who gets a hold of her via Facebook or something like that and schedules an appointment to come in. It truthfully would not be any different than if we didn't have the business and we had somebody randomly pulling in the driveway. It is to that level. We do not have people just pulling in. And I think part of that is because of the location and how it is sitting at the residence. People don't feel compelled to just drive in and walk around. We've had people who have called and asked if we're selling them or if they're just our sheds.
Sure.
Because like I said, I did have a sign up, and I just want to say, we're not asking for a variance for the sign. We have totally eliminated the sign to eliminate some of the industrial look of it, so appearance-wise, our purpose was to try to do the best we could to just make it look like an agricultural lot that just had a bunch of sheds on it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. We've actually talked, that was one of the things we talked to the Lesniaks about, was taking the 3 sheds, because there's 3 sheds that are forward of that line, and putting them down the hill so that as you are driving down the road, you don't have this jetting out of buildings that's catching your eye. Because again, it's not really the drive-by traffic that's getting the sales for her. It's her Facebook posts and stuff like that. So we don't need those up there. I would have honestly moved them. I'm going to work on getting a bigger tractor to move things away, but we are relying right now on the moving company that takes the sheds to place them. And so, yeah, we're working as best we can to try to make it just look like your typical agricultural property that just happens to have.
Well, and my thought was, if you have to move them, I asked that because if you have to move them all back where they're not visible from the road, then how badly will that affect your business? So that was my other thought. So if we set up this variance where it's for a certain number of years, and we would still request that you have no more sheds than you have today, and that you have them all behind the hill where nobody can see them from the road, then, I don't know how that will, all I was worried that, it was going to knock you out of business.
So my only concern is that while it will greatly reduce the visibility, I mean, the hill is not like super deep where it's going to cover an 8-foot tall building. It just gets it so that it's...
And part of his other concern, because he's walked that back there, is if you get too close to that pond, that's not going to work
You
either.
hit the water table,
Sure.
and then it, so we're
Yeah.
trying to also be mindful of, in that sense of putting too much, again, that's just going to limit our amount of sheds that we can keep on site because of, where we're able to keep them, and that's fine too. Like I said, it's...
If we said no, what would you do? Where would you,
That's a
I guess
question
I'm
for you.
asking, realistically, where could you take your product and sell it?
So you ask if you said no, what we would do. I would go home and cry first. I'd pick up my kids from youth group and go home and cry.
Don't do that.
After that, tomorrow, I would call the company and let them know that they need to come pick them up, because truthfully, the overhead cost and I understand that there was some suggestion in some of the letters of, you could lease land in Kearney. We have looked into that, and it is not a realistic option
We've talked to
for
realtors.
this.
What she means by that is we've talked to the realtors that represent the lands, the lots, because there were several lots that we looked at. We're like, hey, this would be an ideal place to do this. And when we reached out to the realtors were just very frank with us and said, we've had others look at the property, and when we went to offer this lot for this type of business, and it wasn't sheds, but I mean, used cars, anything like that, he said, the city of Kearney has just turned them down. They're just not interested. And so he told us that he would look into it and he would get back to us if it was favorable for us, and he never got back to us. So
it would be a matter of closing it down. And
because it wasn't that we didn't try. I'm not trying to just be a rule breaker or anything. But we looked into it, we tried, we're like, okay, we've kind of proven that it's viable. But it could be doable is what we were thinking. It would take most of the profits, but hey, if we really wanted to go after it. But again, like I said, we kind of hit a wall there where it was just like it just wasn't really something that apparently is going to be conducive to the lot areas that are available. So,
Gotcha.
I just have to ask this or I'll never sleep. Why why did y'all start this without coming to the county and getting some kind of a
Yeah, I can
a
answer that
permit?
because I'm the one that convinced her that it was okay, because, so I actually did not have any access, like I didn't know where to get the land development code or any of that, so I Googled it, and I did find excerpts of the land development code through the Missouri Extension or something, MU's extension page. And through my reading of it, there were no, I was looking at the exterior outbuildings for ag use, and I'm like, well, there's no limit to the exterior of like how many we can have. And so I was like, all right, we should be okay to operate it like a business, because the way I saw it in my mind at the time was there wouldn't be any difference in that picture, whether it was me personally just, loving sheds and having tons of sheds around my property, and so that's what we were like, all right, well, and then like I said, I think that our original, I could be wrong, but I think the original violation that we had was a sign violation, because I had taken a 4x8 banner and put it on a physical sign and stuck it out in the yard, which drew a ton of attention, and it was like, clearly at that point, it's not sheds, right, or it's a business, and so, again, like I said, it just drew us into the situation with Kip, and I appreciate Kip. He's been awesome. His group has been awesome, but we're just trying at this point. It's like, well, we don't want to have to close it down, and I understand if we do. But it was one of those things where it's like he said, you can try this. We offered different options, and he shut some down because of the longevity of what those types of options would be, rezoning, stuff like that, and how that could be more detrimental to the community, the neighborhood across the street, open up a bigger can of worms, if you were. And so this was his recommendation, to keep it contained and small, still allowing us to operate the business, but like he had said, with maybe some restrictions and things that would guarantee, because I absolutely understand and I respect the fact that in the position you're in is a difficult position, and you just have to make sure that you aren't just signing a blank check saying, here, go do this, and then turn around a month later and go, what did we do? And so I understand that, and so that's why I'm looking at two different options here. Is that either having to close it down completely and shut it down, or operate it within the confines of what the community is okay with, what our government is okay with, and being able to at least continue. So that's where we're at, and we're asking for the second naturally.
Sure. Is there any further questions you have, Commissioner? Okay, thank you very much. The floor is still yours, Commissioner Lawson, as you were entertaining a motion, but if not, I can ask for other motions.
Frankly, is, opening a can of worms. Now, these homes that sit on these acreages, I know a number of the people that, I don't know these folks, but know a number of the people that live in those properties. And, they weren't real happy when all this development came across the road. They were saying, oh my God, we have peace and quiet.
There goes the neighborhood.
So it kind of goes both ways. Sure. The only thing I would say, I just feel that if I did live in a house across the road, I wouldn't love looking out the door and seeing all these little, this little retail area. But if you look just a little bit to the west, it's nothing but, and they're getting ready to develop that other corner of Nation Road and 92 going north, and, going east. And that's going to be all development. So it's coming closer and closer. Like I say, I would like to do it through a year. I would like to make them retain whatever they have now, not add one other more unit than they got. And I would want them to move the units out of the line of sight. Maybe keep say that little red doodad there, that's going to be their office. then leave it there, and everything else goes back in the trees, out of sight, out of sight. And then, you know, nobody can complain. Now, down the road, when Carney comes in, maybe the whole thing will change, but I would like to keep that for 3 years, see how it goes, see how people react to it, and then, you know, in 3 years, we may have to say, well, no more variances. So,
Let me ask, because I am sure this would be part of a motion, based on what you've heard, Mr. Jones, is there a number when we hear no more than what's already there? I kind of
I think
heard,
they said like 18 years ago.
was,
I heard 8 after
heard- I
next
kinda heard-
week.
There's 8 out here, but there's more down the hill.
so I need very quick, come to the microphone if you would, but very quickly, because any motion would have to have the number. I need to know what's the number.
Honestly, for the sake of what I know my lovely neighbors are good with, and for you guys, I would like to request if we could have 8.
8, okay.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
I think that's beautiful.
Okay, so if you would
Okay, I'm gonna
restate
make
that
a
motion.
Okay. I make a motion to approve 25-124 with stipulations that it is for a 3-year variance, no more than 8 units on the property, and that all but one of those units is moved out of sight. So there's no more than 1 unit visible. Everything else is out of sight of the roads.
Is that a proper motion for you, Kip?
Is that
A question of clarification, is it out of sight from the roadway?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're saying over, if it goes over the hill, if I'm
It
just
does
driving
go
down
over
the
the
road.
hill, but Dave, my fear is that with that language, if the roof structure of a shed is visible, that we would be in violation. And that's my concern, is that the hill,
Go ahead and come to the microphone if you would.
sorry, I'm not trying to belabor this anymore.
Yeah.
But that was why I agree with Kip, and I'm sorry, with the keeping it behind the house, the front line of the house or further, because the top of the hill is 70 feet in, is where the top of the hill starts, but it doesn't go down far enough if like they're standing on the sidewalk right there, that we could totally hide the structures. And so that would be my only concern. We could try to plant some trees, across the lot there or something like that, just to create a screen. Or a fence, something of that nature, just to try to keep it a little more, I'm happy to do that even, but like I said, the one visible shed for sure I know would be the office, just where we would have to place that for practical purposes. But storage-wise, we can keep storage, further back and towards the pond.
If you got that, I just want to make sure we do this.
And just so you know,
Was there a
according,
picture that had the house, that showed the house?
I'll go ahead and let you sit back down.
Yeah.
So, because I'm being kind of crazy having people come up when we're having motions, and I shouldn't be doing that. So I'd like to kind of bring a conclusion to what the motion is. So, okay, Mr. Jones, go ahead and answer that question.
So I have this aerial image, but it's not going to show you topography. And just keep in mind, conditions do not have to be negotiated.
Right.
You can set whatever conditions you choose to set. But the way I would just want to make sure I'm clear on how we enforce them.
Correct.
If it would be approved. And the way I interpreted what you said was only one shed could be visible if I'm in the roadway. So everything else, however they achieve it and they meet county code, Everything else has to be not visible from the roadway. And I wanted to be specific about the roadway because I don't want to have somebody say I can see them from an adjacent property line. So that's how I interpreted your condition.
Visible from Nation Road. And if they have to put fence up or something, that monkey's on their back. But if I say, 3-year variance, no more than 8 units, not visible from Nation Road.
Yeah, we could enforce that. We may want to stipulate how long they have to comply with that, but we could enforce that, yes.
Okay.
Does that need to be within the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I make a motion, we approve 26-124 with the stipulations as follows. 3-year variance, no more than 8 units. Only 1 unit visible, all other units are not visible from Nation Road.
Is that sufficient for you, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Hearing none, the motion fails for lack of a second. Are there any other motions?
No, that's all I got.
Yeah, well, let me just say this. I appreciate the Jacobs seem like lovely people, amazing residents of the community just trying to provide for their family. And, certainly my heart is with them totally. My concern is, yes, with regard to potential, neighbor discomfort around having a commercial operation on ag land. And then in addition, my concern, as I've expressed at some of the previous meetings, is when you make an exception for one, it just seems to me that there's going to be a lot of potential people who have their own land who may want to open up their own commercial operation, even if it's not zoned commercially. And so that's really where I'm coming from on it. I think the effort you made to try to find a compromise, though, they certainly seem like lovely people. And so I understand where your heart is on that.
So if there is not a second.
So now it's open again, so we can take other motions if anyone has one.
That's all I got.
Yeah, my motion would be to deny the variance on 2025-124.
Okay, it has been moved to deny the variance for 25-124. Is there a second? I will second it. So it has been moved and seconded. Mr. Jones, please call the roll.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Scott Wagner.
Yes.
Joanne Lawson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. And I want to make it very clear, and I agree with the comments that were just made by my colleague, Commissioner Carpenter. It is not an easy thing to give folks bad news, and I know we just delivered it. And I'm very sorry that we had to. I hope the reasoning behind it is understood. May not be welcome, but nevertheless, I always believe that if we are to deliver bad news, folks understand why. But we do wish you luck. We thank you for what you've done. We thank you for being here this evening and trying to work with us to get to a solution. Unfortunately, I'm sorry we couldn't quite deliver the solution that you probably wanted. With that, Mr. Jones, before you do anything, I will recognize that I'm a middle-aged man, and I've been sitting here for almost 2.5 hours, and there are some things that middle-aged men have to do after 2.5 hours. And so I'm going to ask for a quick recess of 5 minutes before we get back. And I apologize to our last case. You've waited, and now I'm going to make you wait just a tad bit longer.
I'm past middle age. So.
All right. Fair enough, sir.
I didn't even make it that long.
Oh, didn't even make it that long.
I was never.
Yes, sir.
Everybody who needs to be here is here. So, all right, we'll come back to recess, and thank you all for your indulgence. Appreciate it very much. And also, I appreciate the indulgence of our last case. Could have been out to dinner and still come back well within time, so I appreciate y'all waiting around. This last one, Mr. Jones, case number 25-125.
Yes, and I would like to add this report as part of the official record. So this one is a different case than what we've heard tonight. So I've got the property pulled up on the screen. This is the parcel or lot that we are talking about. It is a little over 27 acres. It is zoned agricultural, has access from Nation Road through the easement, and that's what that black line is showing. That easement is a shared driveway between Lot 1, 4, and 5. And it's Lot 4 of Maloney Meadow, which was recorded in 2024. That subject parcel does not have any structures currently on it, but you can see the two, and keep in mind those are estimates, of the accessory dwelling unit location and the new home location. So what the applicants are requesting on this one, and there's quite a bit, so please feel free to ask me questions if you have them. So the Land Development Code requires the primary structure to be built before any accessory structure. In this case, they are asking for the accessory dwelling unit to be built before the primary home. Then that accessory dwelling unit has 14 stipulations that you have to meet for it to be classified as an accessory dwelling unit. They are asking to vary from that code to allow it to be farther than 100 feet from the primary structure, let it have separate utilities than the primary structure, have a larger footprint than the primary structure, and allow more than a one-car garage. So I'm going to talk about the surrounding area, and then I'll go into that code in a little more detail. There's the subject parcel. This area is a mix of, you can see, mainly ag to the west, and then a lot of interior streeted subdivisions that were platted in the 70s that are 3 to 5 acre lots to the east. The lots that are part of Maloney Meadow that are in front of this are zoned R1. Those are 10-acre lots, and then the lot that also shares the access easement is a 20-plus acre lot. The variance request is from section 151-6.3A, accessory dwelling unit, and this accessory dwelling unit is designed to allow a second home on a property, but it's designed more to be like a mother-in-law's quarters. So it has certain stipulations that you have to meet. And part of these stipulations are to make sure that the property owners don't think that by having a second home on the property that it can be sold separate than the primary home. So that's, to me, the reason why it's required to be within 100 feet and not have separate utilities. It also only allows between 750 and 850 square feet of living space and a footprint no larger than 1,200 feet. Now, the Dahlgrens are proposing to abide by the 750 to 850, but they are proposing a larger footprint because they are attaching a shop to the accessory dwelling unit. And then it does not allow more than 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. They are meeting that. And like I said, it's to allow a smaller home, but not allow the property or not make people think that it should be, that it has been subdivided. Again, not going to go over the criteria, but the same criteria as our previous cases. Again, the applicant has the burden to show how they meet these criteria, and they are present and are prepared to address these criteria. Went through our public notice process. The applicant provided a letter addressing the criteria, a letter from Platte Clay Electric, the layout for the ADU, photos, videos, supplemental documents. There was also a letter of, I think it must be getting close to 8 because I can't think. A letter of support, and then we did get phone calls and emails with questions and concerns, and there were written concerns to this request as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is present. I do have a video to play after you ask me any questions.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I do. Just one, did you say that they were putting a shop in that other little house?
Yes.
Is it just separate, attached? How
It's
is it gonna-
attached. So if you see on this picture, this side is the living quarters.
Oh, okay.
Here's the shop and the garage.
Okay. Okay.
And I should have said the reason for the 1,200 square foot footprint is that allows for that 750 to 850 of living space, and then that's enough square footage for a one-car garage with some extra storage. And the reason we updated this code, I think 2022, and my building inspector at the time did a lot of research, and we made these changes because it aligned us with the other jurisdictions in this area. So I think this is a pretty standard code for the Kansas City area.
Just a couple quick questions from me. So just on that question, the garage, maybe this is more statement, but take it and you can do whatever you want with it. My assumption is that they assume a one-car garage because normally no one would expect someone to say, I actually want to do more than just park my car. I want to work on it, or whatever the case may be. That's probably the reason for the request, and you wouldn't see it in any other jurisdiction.
Yeah, typically it's designed to be like your parents are aging in place, you want them close, so they don't want a whole lot to take care of and don't need a whole lot of room to spread out.
Then the other question, just because this case reminds me of another case that had to do with electrical service and how best to conduct that. I guess I'm trying to make sure I'm comparing and contrasting correctly. This is a similar issue that I think we saw with another case a few months ago.
Yeah, that was the Weston variance, and yes, this is similar because they're proposing the accessory dwelling unit to be far enough away from the house that to ensure that they don't have electrical issues, they would need a separate meter. And we're probably part of the rewrite of the code. We're going to propose to take that part out, at least for the electrical portion, because it seems to be creating an issue.
Well, the fact that I can remember it at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night tells me it must have been emblazoned in my memory somehow, so fair enough. That's the questions I had. Yes.
One more, what about septic? How are they going to do that?
They would have to have a individual septic.
Yeah.
They're far enough away that they would not want to combine the two septics.
Right, okay. And it perked and everything?
Well, that would be part of the building permit application. So if you approve this, they would apply for the building permit, and the septic permit is one of the requirements for the building permit.
Okay.
I think we're ready for the video. If you want to put that up there.
I will try. It's just not the same without the narration.
I was going to say, is there a narration going on?
I was just waiting my turn. I didn't want to jump ahead.
That was next. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Jones. With that, I'll invite the applicant up to give whatever narration.
You bet.
They care to give.
My name is Keith Dahlgren. I'm representing myself and my wife Grace for our property that was just right off Nation Road. You saw it. Now the video, my wife didn't explain there, but it was just trying to show the topography. You saw how it steeply drops off both sides. So that's the unique thing about this piece of property, that literally we can't put a building within 100 feet of the house that we're proposing. Because again, I guess with enough money, you could shave that whole hill off and do it, but that'd be impractical. So we want to put the barn, we call it a barn, but what do we call it? A shop. Because, with the equipment that I'm going to get, a tractor and everything, they've got hay out there. We want to have some cows. It's agricultural. We've talked to the neighbors about it. They think it's a great idea. We've got elevation pictures of the proposed shop / ADU. So the variance would be, for it to be more than 100 feet from the house, to exceed the footprint, because a one-car garage won't fit a tractor and implements and things like that. The two separate electrical, we've got a letter from Platt Clay that says the voltage drop, because it's going to be 145 yards, so 420 feet roughly, and I think they say 225 in that letter is their limit. So we talked to AJ from Platt Clay, and he says, yeah, this is what we do. We do a transformer and some other. I'm a pilot. I'm not. So he said that's what we'd have to do. So. Basically some other pictures that we have, if you want to see those. We've got some still pictures of the topography where we'd like to put the house. Again, there's nothing on the property. There's no water. There's no electric. We purchased property in November, and we've got a dream of making this our retirement home. And we've got children and grandchildren that don't live in the area. So that's why we thought, hey, we'd have put a nice little ADU onto it with just, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. So we get a lot of people, when they're able to come during holidays and stuff, they could stay there if the house is, overflowing, I guess, if you say. So that's the reason. The barn itself, or the shop, is going to be, for me, mandatory. So even if, we don't get this, the footprint there is going to be the same, because I'm going to have to, put a barn or an outbuilding, whatever, the code calls for it. And they'll have to have electric there for lights and stuff and things like that. So. Yeah, so any questions about, what we're asking for the variance?
And the photos the applicant brought up are part of the staff report.
Okay.
Just want to make sure you knew they were part of the staff report.
Yeah, there should be a topography page too that you can see the topography. It's pretty steep.
Okay, so you're coming up Nation Road.
Yes, ma'am.
What's that first road that goes off there to the right?
To the right, I think that's 184th above Lot 1, north of Lot 1. Is that what you're looking at? I believe that's 184th. So this subdivision is between 181st and 184th to the west of Nation Road. We've got 3 10-acre lots right in front of us, and those are listed residential. And the 2 in back, the 227, where one of those is listed agricultural. And everything to the west of us and to the south is agricultural.
Oh, okay, so do you own 1, 2, and 3?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
We own Lot 4, yeah.
Okay.
And right now, there is only Lot 3 that's being built on right now. They're in the phase, the outside walls are up and such, but the other lots don't have anything on them yet.
Okay, okay, so it just this one big, I'm looking at the first picture. So 4 and 5 are yours?
Just 4.
Just
4, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So did 5 have no access?
They do. So there's a common access road, and it's that right there, that dark road.
This isn't anything they're asking for?
Correct.
Okay.
They just want. Yeah.
Okay, just that,
Yeah,
okay.
yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm good.
Okay. I might just ask a quick question. Probably already know the answer, but as Mr. Jones pointed out, the desire is to be you first as opposed to the building. I'll let you answer that question and see if it jumps what I think you're going to. Okay. Yeah, so I would like to do the barn first just because I need a place to put my equipment. We live in St. Joe right now, so we're 40 miles away, and there's no space to put anything in our garage right now. We have a 3-car garage. I have a side-by-side. I'm going to buy a tractor with implements. I have some of the stuff that I'm using that's on the farm back with, in the woods with tarps on it. I'd like to put it somewhere. So we do have plans to build with Freeman Custom Homes. Again, we have, a representative that's going to speak for us that we've known for 30 years.
Her husband and I flew in the Air Force together. We're both Southwest captains. They live, in the county. They live in Kearney. So I don't know what I just brought that up for. Where was I going with that?
I think I'm tracking.
Yeah.
I think I knew everything but the St. Joe part.
So we live in St. Joe.
Everything
Yeah.
else makes sense.
Yeah. So
Okay, very good. And thank you for your service, by the way.
it was a pleasure.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll let you go ahead and take a seat, and then I'll ask for anyone who wishes to speak on 25-125. That's probably why you're here, so come on up. If you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Roxana Greenwood. I go by Rocky. If I say Roxana, they're going to be like, who, what? Yes, we have known the Dahlgren family for 30 years. And my husband and I both would just state that they are people of great integrity, very much rule followers, very much an advocate for their community and a servant to their community, and be a great asset to Clay County. I've been on the property several times, and what they're requesting makes complete sense if you actually see it, because it's a deep drop, and you have to go out to access the house. So it would just make sense to be able to have that there. And then, as they stated, they're very family-oriented. 3 boys that have served in 2 of which are still serving, 1 that's out, extended family. So it would be a great asset for them to have this type of a building, and the placement where it's at makes sense because of the situation. So that's all I have. So thank you. Thank you.
I would ask if there's anyone else who wishes to speak on this, but I don't think you're here for this. Just a public. No, quite all right. You don't even have to tell me why you're here. We're glad to have you here. But is there anything further that you would like to add?
Unless you guys have questions, I don't think so.
Okay, I think we're good to take back to the group here. Unless there's anything Mr. Jones you wish to add.
No, sir.
Very well, and I'll take any questions, conversation, or motions if anyone wants to.
Yeah, so I'll just say, it seems to me they've met the criteria, unique conditions of the property that require the variance, doesn't undermine the overall plan, and doesn't cause any harm to the surrounding areas, neighbors, et cetera, public interests. So for those reasons, I would move that we approve 25-125, approve the variance.
It is moved and seconded to accept or to approve the variance for case number 25-125. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Jones, will you please call the roll?
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Joanne Lawson. Scott Wagner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you. I hope late comes worth it.
Appreciate your patience for being here. It's probably the longest meeting you probably had in a while.
You'd be surprised at my answer to that question, but thank you again. Thanks for your way. That brings us to other business and direct comments, Mr. Jones.
I know this will tear you apart, but we are not planning on having a meeting next month. And I'm going to go home and cry now.
I just want to give a shout out to Kim and Shane. They did a lot of work for us by getting this all together and everything, and they were really advocates, and they brought us through the process too, because it can get a little convoluted with all the rules. So they were a big help.
Well, thank you for saying that. Hopefully that means you won't shed